Hey friends, Master Trainer Margaret here, once again with this week's Tuesday tip. For this week, I'm going to go over what is becoming my #1 recommendation for success with T-Tapp. And I think you're going to love this tip. Before I get to that, I want to remind you that I do offer beginner, intermediate, and advanced level T-Tapp recorded classes that you can download or stream. You can find the link to that in my profile. But for now, let's get to the tip. All right, so for a lot of you who've watched my breathing series, if you haven't watched it, just go back in my feed and you can find it. A lot of you guys are asking, okay, what does it mean to stack the ribs and why is that important? And I'm here to tell you that it actually applies to everything in life as far as your posture and your movement goes, but especially to T-Tapp, because you will actually hinder your results if you flare out your ribs and don't activate properly. So your ribs actually go, obviously from your sternum here, they go all the way around to the back. Now, what tends to happen for us when we hear Teresa in her workout say, lift your ribs, what 99.9% of us do is this. Now, what this is called technically is a rib flare, where I'm letting my rib cage go up, and look what happens to my belly. Like I completely release all of that muscle there when I flare my ribs out. So if you feel your ribs, go ahead and feel them. They should be stacked. So they should be, as I've said before in some of my other workouts, buttoned down. You want these ribs, which normally want to go like this, you want to button them down, but then think tall torso while they're buttoned down. And you can feel if they're flared out, they will feel like they're going at a wider angle. You want them to be stacked over the pelvis. You want to think like your rib cage is going right here. You want it to be, so watch this. Instead of here, does that look like an even stack? Like if you put this over your iliac crest? Here's your hip, and here's my ribs. That is not stacked. This is stacked. Do you see how my rib cage and my ASAS, my hip bone, are now stacked? So my rib cage is tracking over top of my pelvis. Stacking your ribs on top of your pelvis just means in alignment, because a lot of us tend to walk around during our day like this or like this, and this is not stacked and this is not stacked. But if you do that thing where you find your hip bone, find the front of your ribs, you want them to line up. So that is not stacked. And that is not stacked because it's coming forward of your hip there. You want it to be completely stacked. This rib cage goes all the way around here, and you want it to think that it's sitting on top of your hips without leaning forward too much or without leaning back. So now you might be thinking, okay, Margaret, so you might think, okay, is ribs up completely something I shouldn't do? No, but I find that when we say ribs up, people tend to go like that, which completely gets you out of alignment. Here is what I'm finding works. I actually tried this with a client the other day in person, and it blew both of our minds. I was like, this is the way to cue this. Okay, so go ahead and set up with me here, if you would. Go ahead and have your knees out towards the little toe. And now what I want you to do here is to think about, instead of initiating it from your butt, I want you to think to initiate it here from your pubic bone. So pubic bone goes up. Did you see that? Up. You're thinking about all those muscles around the pubic bone pulling you up, and that automatically stacks you there with that rib cage over your pelvis. So think about up. Now, here's the fun part. Chin comes in, ear in line with your shoulder. Now, from here, keeping everything, I want you to put your hand at your rib cage. I want you to feel like those ribs are not sticking out. I want you to feel like they're nestled there and they're buttoned down. Put your hand here. Now, your other hand, I want you to take it to your breastbone. Now, this can take a minute for some people to get, but I want you to think like your fingers are pressing into your breastbone and your breastbone is pressing into your fingers. 1, 2, 3, press. It's very subtle, so it's a resisting. You're thinking fingers into breastbone, breastbone into fingers. Ready? Press, press, and press. Now, if when you're doing this, when you're lifting your rib cage tall, if at any time you feel those ribs start to go like that, then you know that when in T-Tapp, when Teresa's saying lift your ribs, you're leaning back and you're completely not stacking your rib cage meaning you're gonna get less ab results. You will not see as much torso cinching if you're not in that optimal alignment. So try this anytime during the day. Try it on either side, and sometimes you might have one side that flares out more than the other. But put your hands at your breastbone, chin comes in, fingers to breastbone, hand there, and feel when you press. So think everything's stacked. Ready? Think press breastbone into fingers, fingers into breastbone. Do you see how that's very subtle? So I want you to watch from the side. You see, it's just right here getting taller, and you're stretching everything from your hip bone up to your chest. So it's a big stretch, and it's a big activation there, and you will feel it also all the way down in your abs if you do it this way. Well, I hope that these tips were helpful for you. They've been a game changer for me recently. So I would love to hear your feedback on this. You can comment below, and if you have further questions, feel free to send me a message. I try to get back to everybody that sends me a message, so feel free to communicate that way as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.